Hey everyone, and welcome back. I just love these deep dives, and you guys gave us a really fascinating one today.
Yeah, for sure.
We're going to take a look at this self-help manual all about anxiety, and
Oh, yeah.
it really seems to cover everything,
But
the causes, effects, and I think most importantly, ways to manage it.
yeah, I mean, it really does go from understanding what anxiety even is,
Yeah.
all the way to like some really practical techniques,
Yeah.
like meditation and self-hypnosis.
Hmm.
It even goes into like the connection between anxiety and things like what you eat or
Yeah.
your gut bacteria.
The gut bacteria thing totally caught my eye too. I'm a
Yeah.
little skeptical, I have to admit,
Sure.
but I'm super intrigued to learn more about it.
Right.
But I think it's important to sort of like set the stage here.
Yeah.
What are we even talking about?
Right.
I mean, we all feel anxious sometimes, right? Like
Yeah.
before a big presentation or a first date.
Oh, for sure.
When does it cross the line from like normal to a disorder?
That is such a good point. I mean, so the manual defines anxiety as this feeling of worry, nervousness, or unease
Yeah.
typically about something that's about to happen or something that has an uncertain outcome.
Mm-hmm.
And you're totally right.
Yeah.
We all feel it
Yeah.
from time to time. It's just a natural human response.
Right.
But when that anxiety is really persistent and excessive,
Yeah.
when it starts getting in the way of your everyday life,
Okay.
that's when it could be an anxiety
So
development.
it's not just about the feeling itself, but how much
Wow.
it impacts your life.
Exactly.
Okay. But anxiety can look so different in different
Oh,
people,
absolutely.
right? Like I tend to get really restless and I have trouble sleeping when I'm anxious,
Uh-huh.
but my friend gets these awful panic attacks.
Yeah, and that's what makes anxiety disorders so complex.
Yeah.
The manual actually focuses on two of the most common types,
Okay.
which are generalized anxiety disorder,
Okay.
GAD,
Okay.
and social anxiety disorder, sometimes called social phobia.
Got it.
So GAD is
Okay.
characterized by this. It's like
Solid.
persistent, excessive worry about a ton of different things, work, health, family, all of it.
Yeah.
It's like this constant feeling of dread that
Yeah.
you can't really control.
I think I know a few people who fit that description.
Right.
Always worrying about something.
For sure.
Yeah.
And then you've got social anxiety disorder, which
Mhm.
is a fear of social situations, like where you might be judged or scrutinized.
Yeah.
This could be anything from public speaking
Mhm.
to even just meeting someone new.
Right.
People with social anxiety, they worry so much about embarrassing themselves or being negatively evaluated by other people.
That hits close to home for me.
Oh, really?
I used to get so nervous in social situations, I would like break out in hives.
Wow.
I'm much better now,
Good.
but I can definitely relate to that
Yeah.
fear of judgment.
It's a lot more common than you might think.
Yeah.
And both of these disorders, GAD and social anxiety,
Yeah.
can have a massive impact on people's lives.
Oh, for sure.
I mean, they might avoid certain situations, have trouble at work
Yeah.
or in their relationships, or even experience physical symptoms
Right.
like fatigue,
Right.
muscle tension, or even like digestive issues.
I'm starting to see how this is so much more than just feeling nervous every now and then.
Right.
It can really affect your whole life.
Totally.
But what causes these disorders in the first place?
That is the question, isn't it?
Yeah,
That's the million-dollar question.
Is it something you're born with, or is it more about your environment?
So the manual goes into this whole nature versus nurture debate,
Okay.
and it turns out both play a role.
Really?
Research suggests that some people might just be genetically predisposed to anxiety.
So some of us are just wired to worry more.
It really does seem that way.
Okay.
Like studies have linked high levels of neuroticism,
Mhm.
which is a personality trait, being prone to negative emotions.
Right.
They've linked that with a higher risk of anxiety disorders.
So genetics might load the gun, so to speak.
Yeah.
But what pulls the trigger?
Totally.
The manual talks about how our modern world is
Yeah.
a major contributor, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
The constant pressure to succeed, the 24/7 news cycle,
Mm-hmm.
the always-on culture fueled by social media,
Ugh, it's a recipe for disaster.
the recipe for anxiety.
Yeah, anxiety, exactly.
The manual calls it future shock.
What?
This feeling of being overwhelmed by how fast things are changing
Yeah.
and by the amount of information that we are just like bombarded with.
Future shock.
Yeah.
That is a perfect way to describe it.
Right.
Yeah.
Like I definitely feel that pressure to be constantly connected and achieving.
Yeah.
No wonder we're all so anxious.
No wonder.
And then, of course, there are those individual experiences that can lead to anxiety.
Right.
Things like trauma, chronic stress.
Yeah.
Or even just growing up in a house where anxiety was common.
So our past experiences can shape our present anxieties.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Uh-huh.
But this is where I have to ask about that gut bacteria thing.
Okay.
Is it true that what's going on in our stomach can affect our mental health?
This is where it gets interesting.
Okay.
The manual talks about this really amazing connection between the gut and the brain.
Uh-huh.
It turns out our gut is home to just trillions of bacteria.
Trillions.
And these bacteria can actually talk to our brain. They
Wow.
can influence our mood, our behavior,
Okay.
and even our anxiety levels.
So you're telling me those tiny little microbes
Wow.
can send signals to my brain and make me anxious?
It does sound crazy,
Right.
but there's more and more evidence to back it up.
Okay.
Scientists believe this communication happens through a few different pathways, including the vagus nerve,
Uh-huh.
which connects the gut to the brain,
Okay.
and through the production of some neurotransmitters like serotonin and GABA, which play a big role in mood.
Wow. Okay. My mind is officially blown.
Right.
So it's not just what's happening in our heads, but also what's going on in our guts.
You got it.
Yeah.
This is why the manual talks about using a holistic approach
Yeah.
to manage anxiety.
Hmm.
It's not just about addressing the psychological factors, but also the physical ones,
Okay.
like gut health.
This is all so fascinating.
Yeah,
But I'm also starting to feel a little overwhelmed.
sure.
If anxiety is this complex with roots in our genes,
Yes.
our environment,
Hmm?
even our gut bacteria,
Right.
is there anything we can actually do about it?
That is the good news.
Okay.
The manual is full of really practical strategies and techniques for managing anxiety.
Okay.
It's not about completely getting rid of anxiety, because
Right.
remember, some anxiety is normal.
Right.
It's even helpful.
Yeah.
It's about learning to control it
Uh-huh.
so it doesn't control you.
Okay, that's reassuring.
Right.
So what are some of these strategies? I'm ready to take notes.
Okay, well, the manual goes through a whole range of different techniques.
Okay.
Some are more about shifting your mindset,
Okay.
while others focus on changing your behaviors.
Give me an example of a mindset shift. Because sometimes my thoughts feel like a runaway train, especially when I'm anxious.
Oh, I totally get it.
Yeah.
And the manual talks about the importance of something called cognitive reframing.
Cognitive reframing.
Yeah, it's about challenging those negative or distorted thought patterns that just fuel anxiety.
Okay, so like when I convince myself that I'm going to totally bomb that presentation,
Yeah,
even though I've prepped for it,
exactly.
that's my anxiety talking, not my rational mind.
That's your anxiety talking out the rationale.
Okay.
Cognitive reframing is about taking those thoughts
Yeah,
and kind of putting them on trial,
like a jury.
almost like a jury.
Okay.
Asking yourself, like,
Uh-huh.
is this thought really true?
Okay.
What evidence do I have?
Right.
What's a more realistic way to look at this?
Oh, I like that, putting my anxious thoughts on trial. Okay, I'm going to try that.
Yeah.
What about behavior changes?
Okay.
What kind of things does the manual suggest?
So one of the most surprising and potentially impactful things it talks about is the power of setting boundaries.
Oh, I'm so glad you brought that up
Yeah.
because I am the queen of saying yes to everything.
Oh.
I always feel like I have to please everybody, and then I end up overcommitting myself and feeling overwhelmed.
Yeah.
Could that be contributing to my anxiety?
It's definitely possible.
Okay.
The manual really emphasizes that learning to say no to things that drain you or add unnecessary stress.
Right.
It's a crucial skill for dealing with anxiety.
Yeah.
It's about protecting your time and energy
Uh-huh.
and putting your well-being first.
I'm definitely the type to put everybody else's needs
Mhm.
before my own,
Yeah,
but I'm starting to realize that I can't pour from an empty cup.
exactly. And saying no doesn't have to be like harsh or confrontational.
Right.
The manual gives you some good tips
Yeah.
on how to decline requests politely
Okay.
while still keeping good relationships.
I need to read that section carefully because I'm pretty sure my default response to any request is sure, no problem.
Yeah.
Even if I'm juggling a million things already.
I think a lot of people can relate to that,
Yeah.
but setting boundaries is seriously a game changer.
Okay.
It's about respecting yourself and your limits.
Okay. So I'm adding boundary setting
Yes.
to my list of anxiety busting strategies.
Good.
Right next to putting my anxious thoughts on trial.
I love it.
Two powerful tools.
Those are some powerful tools.
Yeah.
The manual also goes into other practical strategies like time management.
Oh, yeah. That's a big one for me, too.
Okay.
I always feel rushed and
Mm.
behind,
Uh-huh.
which definitely makes my anxiety worse.
It's like your nervous system is stuck in overdrive.
Right.
The manual suggests techniques like prioritizing tasks,
Yeah.
breaking big projects down into smaller steps.
Yeah.
And this one's key,
Okay.
scheduling time for relaxation.
Scheduling time for relaxation.
Yeah,
Isn't that kind of counterintuitive when you already feel pressed for time?
I know it sounds strange.
Yeah.
But the idea is, if you don't make time to relax, your body will eventually make you take a break.
Oh,
Usually not in a good way,
that's
like burnout or getting sick.
that's a scary thought.
Right?
So it's about being proactive rather than reactive.
Exactly.
Okay, I can get behind that.
Uh-huh.
But what about when those anxious feelings hit you in the moment?
Okay.
What can you do right then and there to
Right.
calm down?
Well, the manual has a whole section on relaxation techniques.
Okay.
One of the simplest but surprisingly effective techniques is deep breathing.
Deep breathing.
Yeah.
Does that really work?
It might sound simple,
It seems almost too easy.
but there's a physiological reason why it works.
Okay.
When you're anxious, your breathing becomes shallow and rapid,
Okay.
and that actually tells your body that you're in danger.
Oh, wow.
But deep, slow breaths
Yeah.
activate your parasympathetic nervous system, which is in charge of calming you down.
So it's like tricking your body into thinking everything's okay?
Totally. Like you're tricking your body.
I like that.
And the manual has some specific breathing exercises.
Okay.
One is called box breathing.
Box breathing.
You breathe in for a count of 4.
All right.
Hold for 4. Exhale for 4.
Okay.
Hold for 4.
I'm going to try that right now. Inhale.
Yeah.
Hold.
Mm.
Exhale.
Yeah.
Hold.
How are you feeling?
Actually a little calmer already.
Really?
I can feel my heart rate slowing down.
Right.
Yeah.
Simple but powerful.
Okay. I'm sold on deep breathing.
All right, good.
Are there any other techniques that are good for in-the-moment anxiety relief?
The manual also talks about something called progressive muscle relaxation.
Oh.
Have you heard of that?
I've tried that before.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's amazing how much tension we hold in our bodies without even realizing it.
Right.
So by releasing that tension on purpose,
Yeah.
you can signal to your nervous system
Yeah.
that it's time to chill out.
Okay, this is all so helpful. I feel like I have a toolkit of strategies to manage my anxiety.
Right.
What about those bigger, more long-term approaches?
Oh,
The
yeah.
manual mentions things like meditation and self-hypnosis, right?
Yes, absolutely. And these can be so effective,
Yeah.
but they do require some commitment and practice.
Okay.
Let's start with meditation.
Okay, here's where I have to admit, I'm a little skeptical about meditation. I've always kind of thought of it as, ooh,
Sure.
like something for like hippies and gurus.
I totally get it. Meditation's kind of gotten this like mystical reputation,
Right.
but the manual has this really practical and science-backed approach.
Okay.
It basically says that meditation is a practice for training your mind
Mm.
to be more present and aware.
So it's not about emptying your mind?
Not necessarily.
Okay.
It's more about learning to just observe your thoughts and feelings without judgment.
Okay.
And research shows this can really help with anxiety.
Really? How so?
Okay, so when you're anxious, your mind tends to race.
Yeah.
It jumps from one worry to the next.
Yes, exactly.
Meditation helps you break free from that cycle by focusing your attention on one thing,
Okay.
like your breath,
Mm-hmm.
maybe a mantra,
Okay.
or even just what you're feeling in your body.
So it's about quieting that mental chatter.
Exactly.
Okay.
And the manual talks about different kinds of meditation.
Yeah.
Like mindfulness meditation,
Okay.
which is all about paying attention to the present moment,
Right.
and loving kindness meditation,
Okay.
which focuses on being kind and compassionate towards yourself and other people.
I'm starting to see the appeal.
Right.
But what about self-hypnosis?
Okay.
Isn't that like swinging a pocket watch
Right.
and saying you're getting sleepy?
Not quite.
Okay.
The manual describes self-hypnosis as a state of deep relaxation
Okay.
and really focused attention, kind of like meditation.
Okay.
And in this state, your subconscious mind is more open to suggestions.
So you can use self-hypnosis to like reprogram those negative thinking patterns.
Exactly.
Uh,
The manual actually has a step-by-step guide for self-hypnosis.
okay.
And it points out that it takes practice, just
Mhm.
like meditation.
Right.
But if you keep at it, it can be a powerful tool for managing anxiety.
This is fascinating.
Right.
I'm starting to realize that there are so many ways
Yeah.
to approach anxiety. It's not a one-size-fits-all thing.
You got it.
Yeah.
The best part is you don't have to pick just one technique.
Right.
You can experiment and
Mhm.
find what works best for you, or even combine different approaches.
A personalized anxiety-busting plan.
Exactly.
I love it.
Yeah.
But before we get too carried away,
Yeah.
I do remember the manual talking about some less conventional approaches,
Like, really?
like the role of diet and supplements in managing anxiety.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
We haven't even gotten to that yet.
Let's dive into that then.
Okay.
I'm ready for more mind-blowing insights.
All right, let's do it. Yeah, so let's talk about that connection between what we eat and how we feel.
Okay.
You know, I'm always up for trying new things, but I was surprised to see that the manual suggested certain foods and supplements could actually help with anxiety.
Yeah, it was definitely an interesting section.
It might seem surprising at first,
Yeah.
but when you think about it,
Yeah.
our bodies are these incredibly complex systems.
Right.
Everything's connected.
Totally.
So it makes sense that what we put into our bodies
Yeah.
can affect how we feel mentally and emotionally.
It makes a lot of sense when you put it that way.
Right.
What kind of dietary advice does the manual give?
Okay.
Is it all like kale smoothies and tofu?
No, no, no.
Okay, good.
Not that extreme.
I'm a big believer in pizza and ice cream.
Oh, me too. For sure. It's more about finding a good balance
Yeah.
and just being mindful of what you're eating.
Okay.
The manual emphasizes having a balanced diet.
Uh-huh.
Lots of fruits and vegetables, whole
Right.
grains.
The stuff we already know is good for us.
Exactly. The good stuff.
Okay, so far so good.
Yeah, nothing too crazy. But it does suggest limiting processed foods,
Okay.
sugary drinks,
Mm-hmm.
and too much caffeine,
Oh, yeah.
because those can make anxiety worse.
That makes sense.
If you think about it, when you have a bunch of sugar,
Yeah.
you get that energy rush.
Yeah,
But then you crash and feel all jittery and anxious.
totally. I am so guilty of that.
Yeah.
Reaching for like a sugary coffee drink when I'm stressed,
Right.
but then I feel even worse later.
It's a vicious cycle.
It is.
The manual also mentions a link
Okay.
between B12 deficiency
Okay.
and anxiety.
Interesting.
So making sure you get enough B12
Mm-hmm.
could really help.
Through diet or supplements?
Exactly. Through your diet or supplements.
Okay, so B12 is on my radar now.
Good.
What about supplements in general?
Okay.
Does the manual talk about specific supplements?
It does mention a few that have had promising results
Okay.
in research.
Okay.
But there's a big disclaimer here.
Yeah.
Always talk to your doctor before trying a new supplement.
Right, of course.
They can interact with other medications or have side effects.
Yeah.
And what works for one person might not work for another.
Makes sense. Everyone's different.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So what kind of supplements are we talking about?
Yeah, what are we talking about?
One that comes up a lot is magnesium,
Okay.
which is known for its calming effects
Uh-huh.
and can help with muscle, tension, and sleep.
Oh, yeah, I've heard about magnesium for sleep.
It's great for that.
I might have to look into that.
And then there's omega-3 fatty acids,
Okay.
which are really important for brain health
Okay.
and probiotics.
Probiotics for anxiety.
Yeah, which can help with that healthy gut microbiome.
Right. The gut-brain connection.
There it is.
That's been my biggest takeaway from this whole deep dive.
It's really fascinating.
It's fascinating.
The manual even mentions some herbal remedies
Okay.
that have traditionally been used
Okay.
to help with anxiety.
Like what?
Things like chamomile lavender, valerian root.
I'm getting a little skeptical here. Does the manual actually endorse herbal remedies?
It mentions them.
Okay.
But again, big caveat.
Yeah.
You've got to talk to your doctor first
Of course.
before trying anything new.
Right.
Some herbs can interact with medications,
Right.
or they might have some weird side effects.
Right. Just because something's natural doesn't mean it's safe.
Exactly.
It's all about doing your research,
Right.
making informed decisions.
Exactly. Informed decisions are key.
I'm definitely going to do my research before I start like brewing any anxiety-reducing potions.
Haha. Good idea.
Yeah.
But beyond the diet and the supplements,
Mm-hmm.
the manual also really emphasizes lifestyle changes.
Okay. Like what?
Things like getting enough sleep.
Okay. Yeah.
Sometimes just making a few small changes to your routine
Yeah.
can really impact your well-being.
Wow, this deep dive has been a real eye-opener.
That's great to hear.
I feel like I understand anxiety so much better now.
I'm glad.
It's not just what it is,
Yeah,
but where it comes from and how to deal with it.
that's what we were hoping for.
Yeah.
And remember, the key is to find what works for you.
Right.
There's no one right answer.
I love that.
Yeah,
It's empowering.
it is empowering.
I know we have so much control over our mental health.
We really do. So we were talking about less conventional approaches to managing anxiety.
Right. Like the role of diet and supplements.
Exactly.
I'm all about like trying new things,
Sure.
but I was surprised to see that the manual suggests that certain foods and supplements
Uh-huh.
could actually help with anxiety.
Yeah, it's pretty interesting, right?
It was a fascinating section for sure.
Like, it might seem surprising at first,
Yeah.
But our bodies are these complex systems.
Right. Everything's connected.
Yeah.
So,
It makes sense that what we eat
yeah,
can affect how we feel
totally.
mentally and emotionally.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
So what kind of dietary advice does the manual have?
Well, that's what I want to know. Is it all kale smoothies and tofu?
Huh. No, no, no. Okay.
Yeah, phew.
Nothing that extreme.
Because I'm a big believer in pizza and ice cream every now and then.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
Me too. It's all about balance
Yeah.
and just being mindful of what you're consuming.
Okay.
The manual really stresses the importance of a balanced diet.
Haha.
Lots of fruits,
Yeah.
veggies, whole grains.
Yeah, the stuff we already know is good for us.
Exactly.
Okay, so far so good.
So far, so good. Right. But it does suggest limiting processed foods,
Okay.
sugary drinks,
Right.
and too much caffeine,
Oh, yeah.
because those things can make anxiety worse.
I can see that.
Think about it. Like when you have a ton of sugar, you get that energy rush,
Right.
but then you crash
Yeah, and you get all jittery.
and you feel jittery and anxious.
Oh, yeah, I'm so guilty of that. Reaching for a sugary coffee drink when I'm stressed,
Yeah.
and then I just feel worse.
It's a vicious cycle.
It is.
The manual also highlights a possible connection
Yeah.
between vitamin B12 deficiency
Interesting.
and anxiety.
Right.
So making sure you're getting enough B12
Mhm.
can be really helpful.
Through diet or supplement.
Exactly, through your diet or through supplements.
Okay, B12 is officially on my radar now.
Good.
What about supplements in general?
Okay, so the manual does mention a few
Okay.
that have shown some promise
Okay.
in studies,
Yeah,
but with a big disclaimer.
of course.
Always talk to your doctor
Right.
before trying any new supplement.
Right. Because they could interact with medications or have side effects.
Exactly. They can interact with medication, they can
Yeah.
have side effects.
Right.
And what works for one person
Yeah.
might not work for another.
Everyone's different.
Everyone is different.
Yeah.
So what kind of supplements are we talking about here?
Yeah, I'm curious.
One that comes up a lot is magnesium,
Okay.
which is known for having these calming effects.
Yeah.
It can help with muscle tension and sleep.
Oh, yeah. I've heard of magnesium for sleep.
It's great for that.
Yeah, I might have to look into that one.
There's also omega-3 fatty acids,
Okay.
which are important for brain health,
Right.
and probiotics,
Probiotics for anxiety.
which can help support a healthy gut microbiome.
Right. The gut-brain connection.
There it is again.
It all comes back to that.
It does.
It's been like my biggest takeaway from this whole deep dive.
I'm glad you're enjoying that part of it. It's fascinating stuff.
So fascinating.
The manual even mentions some herbal remedies
Herbal remedies.
that have been used for anxiety.
Like what?
Things like chamomile, lavender, and valerian root.
Okay. I'm getting a little skeptical here.
Sure,
Does the manual actually endorse herbal remedies?
it mentions them.
Okay.
But again, with the caveat,
Yeah.
you've got to talk to your doctor
Right.
before trying anything new, because some herbs can interact with medications.
Yeah. Or have weird side effects.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And just because something is natural
Right.
doesn't automatically mean it's safe
Exactly.
or effective.
It's all about doing your research
Absolutely.
and making informed decisions.
Informed decisions are key.
So I'm going to definitely do my research before I start brewing up any anxiety-reducing potions.
Uh-huh. Good plan.
But beyond the diet and supplements,
Yeah.
the manual also really stresses lifestyle changes.
Yes. Yeah.
Like, what kind of things are we talking about?
Things like getting enough sleep,
Okay.
regular exercise,
Mhm.
spending time in nature,
Yeah.
and cultivating strong social connections.
That all sounds pretty good.
All the good stuff.
Right.
It might seem
But-
simple or obvious,
Right.
but those things can make a huge difference.
I think we really do underestimate the power of those simple things sometimes.
We do. Sometimes we need that reminder.
Yeah, for sure.
And sometimes just making a few small changes to your routine
Uh-huh.
can have a huge impact on your well-being.
This deep dive has been amazing.
Good. I'm glad you liked it.
I feel like I understand anxiety so much better now.
That's great.
Not just what it is, but like where it comes from
Right.
and how to actually manage it.
That's what we were hoping for.
Yeah.
And remember, the key is to be proactive and find what works best for you.
I love that.
Mm.
It's empowering to know that we have so much control
Yeah.
over our own mental health.
Absolutely. We really do. And, I keep thinking about that idea of existential anxiety,
Oh, yeah. That one really resonated with me.
that feeling of unease that comes from being aware of our mortality
Um,
and the choices that we make.
yeah, it's a good reminder to appreciate the present moment,
It is.
not get caught up in worries about the future.
Exactly. And maybe even think about how we can channel that existential anxiety into something positive
That's a beautiful way to look at it.
and motivational.
Yeah.
By aligning our actions with our values and our purpose.
Yeah, I love that. That's a great point to end on.
I think so too. Thanks for guiding me through this deep dive.
My pleasure. And to everyone listening, keep learning, keep exploring, and keep diving deep.